welcome back to my channel. It is chaos in this neck of the woods right now. And I had a lovely day at work. And I am being sarcastic. Like that it's been a hard day for like months now. And I wish I was coming to you to be a little bit more positive, but I just if you haven't been following my channel, I had a video come up with my TBR for the most anticipated books. This is the last book I needed to read to finish that TBR, which is Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil by B. Schwab. Oh boy. I'm disappointed. And I never thought I would be disappointed with a V. Schwab book. Now, I know, like, there's going to be somebody that's watching this video, like, I've been disappointed, like, 50 times with this woman, and I don't like any of her books. I feel that, okay? But I am somebody that's read pretty much all of her adult books. The only thing I really did not like was the comic book for Vicious and Vengeful, whatever that was not great. But other than that, I love this woman. I love her work. She writes really interesting characters, usually has really interesting magic systems. But this one did not hit. So if you don't know what Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil is about, it is about three women from different time periods that are trying to find their agency, and they're like, okay, we will become vampires. Which, if you have seen Interview with the Vampire, it's very, very similar to Louis' story. And something I talk about when I reviewed Interview with the Vampire both seasons is Louis' agency with being a black man. You do not gain your agency with just being a vampire. And I think that is really what V. Schwab was trying to do. Was she was trying to say, like, hey, these women became vampires, they gained their agency. And trying to use that as a symbol to show agency and getting women power back. I love all those themes. I think they can be very well done. But I also feel like it's just becoming a vampire doesn't do that for you. And I just think using the vampire as a symbol of that was not correct. And that was something I was really struggling with reading this book, is at the end of the day, Alice did not get her agency. She was still having her family issues. And Sabine is a monster. Like, if we want to talk about like toxic relationships and stuff like that, this is shown in this book. It's a very much a Louis and Lestat coded book. So I'm like, okay, she probably has either experienced the TV show or read the book and decided that this is the dynamic she wanted. I would even go back further and say this is Dracula and his brides. Like, I don't see Dracula being nice to his brides either. So, bringing back the idea that vampires are monsters and we shouldn't lust over them is kind of the idea of this book and kind of Interview with the Vampire. And I don't mind that necessarily. I don't mind bringing the vampire back to being a monster. I think they should always have been. I think having Stephenie Meyer change it to where Edward just sparkled in the sunlight and that was the curse makes him sound kind of like a fairy at this point. I saw an article recently about that no, they're not vampires, they're something else, and I'm just like, I think they're still vampires, but it's just they sparkle and it's great. And that's probably symbolic, I haven't read those books for years, but that's probably symbolic to something. But bringing them back to being monsters is actually a good idea. But it just wasn't executed correctly. I felt like V. Schwab had all these really good ideas. The characters were still maybe not her best written, but because it's still been interesting. I didn't like Alice. I don't really think Alice fit, but at the same time, you wanted something modern, I guess. I felt like she was trying to absorb what she did in Adley LaRue, and be like, okay, I'll just do another curse, which is vampirism. Everybody thinks that's a curse. Depending on if I just sparkled and lived forever, not considering that much of a curse, people. I mean, have you seen True Blood? That's a little bit more of a curse. And then we could go into vampire. We are not talking about all vampire lore. I do apologize. But it's just this whole thing that, we can have them as monsters. It's really okay. And I think V. Schwab doing that, making Sabine the villain, perfect. Just not executed as well as all her other stuff. And I'm giving this a 3.54, which you're probably hearing that and you're like, Sonia, you didn't really hate that book that much. That's still a pretty good rating. I told I gave my mom my rating of this book and she was like, that's not bad. I'm just like, yeah, but when you have an author that gives you 5 stars out of 5 stars every single time and hits every single time, and then one book doesn't hit really well, it hurts more. I swear. So yeah, that's how I felt. I'm so disappointed. I'm gonna kind of talk about just kind of my experience with all these. I think they were all 2025 releases, and just what I felt at the end of reading these anticipated releases. I was disappointed in all of them, and a lot of it I think is the difference between editing. I read stuff from Robin Hobb, which was the 90s. And the writing is just so much clearer. Yes, it's a little bit more flowery. Sorry guys. They are doing maintenance is looking at something in the apartments. I'm very sorry. But that was the whole thing. That was the whole thing about working through these books, is that there was so much I could have cut out. There was so much missing. And all of these people, well, minus one, Blood Over Brighthaven, I've never read an ML1 before. And it didn't tear me away from reading Sword of Kaigen, but this book. It didn't tear me away from reading another one of her books. I thought this was well written. The characters were somewhat interesting. It didn't hit the right way. I think it could have been shorter. And that's kind of how I felt at the end of this book. I was like, this could have been shorter. And then I read Catabasis, which is this book, and I didn't like the characters. And I know you're not supposed to like the characters, but I really didn't like these characters. This was not Poppy, like reading the Poppy Award and not liking her. This was, I just don't like the characters because I don't like the characters. Like I can read some horrible people. My favorite series of all time is now all bunch of hating people. And then I have Sephiroth and Cloud in my background. The mopers and mopers. But anyway, like, so that's not my problem. If I say I don't like your characters, they didn't get to the level that I'm sympathetic towards them. I can be sympathetic to a villain, like, no matter what. Like, we could talk all day about how I felt about Cersei at the end of that whole thing. But, like, if I can't even relate like this, gifted and talented, I couldn't relate to the characters. And it wasn't this thing of, like, you're talking about, like, rich versus, classic class structure discussion. It wasn't that. It was just the characters felt so out of reach comparable to being the reader. And some of the things they just did was just like, okay, you're just being awful. I just don't, doesn't relate to me. I'm just like, I need to, like, feel some sympathy. Like, you can have, like, a character like Joffrey, and if I can't, like, be a little sympathetic to a situation or something like that, I can't. I mean, Joffrey's horrible, but, like, you kind of, like, think about, like, everything he goes through, and then, like, genetics and all that stuff. And then you're just like, okay, well, the universe made you out this way, nature versus nurture made you that way, and then, you can have that discussion. But the thing with these books is that you can't have that discussion. Like, they're just not completely fleshed out characters. And I feel like in Gifted and Talented and Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil, there's too many characters. So there's not enough time to spend with the characters in a one book to really relate to them at all. And I think that's what we found if you read those two. Because I felt like towards the end, I felt for the girl in Blood Over Brighthaven, like, but she was also, like, it was just, like, a good example of, like, okay, society's horrible to me, so I'm going to be horrible to the next person, and that just didn't hit me very well. But, yeah, characters aren't the same, it feels like. And I'm, like, such a character-driven reader. Like, you can have a book written terribly, and as long as you're giving me interesting characters, like, I will keep coming back. I will keep coming back for those characters, and then hope the writing gets better. And I felt like that with, like, Sarah J. Maas, where it's like she started really young, and then as her books grow, like, the writing got better, and then she just gets way too smutty sometimes. And that's my issue, kind of, with that direction. But I need characters that I can, like, get on some type of ground with. And that's what I felt mostly with all these books. And it's so surprising. It's like from authors that I loved their characters before. Like, I've loved an Olivia Blake character. Like, the Atlas 6 crew, like, is really good. V. Schwab, I've loved her Darker Shade of Magic characters. Kwan, I just finished the Poppy War, gave that whole trilogy like 5 stars. I've loved, like, seriously loved most of these authors' works. And then Olivia Blake, I've read recently Alone with You in the Ether. Same thing. Like, so it's just so weird that all these books came out this year and I'm having the same problem. And I'm having a character issue with all these books. Like, the characters are just not fleshed out, or you have too many characters. Like, it's okay to have like a 3-person cast, especially if you're only doing one book. It's okay to have a 3-person cast and just follow that, which is what Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil is. But I think it could have just been Sabine just walking around causing havoc, and it would have been just fine, and we didn't need to be personal with anybody else. You know, and that's just my opinion on that one. But like, Gifted and Talented had like this whole family structure, and I'm just like, I can't relate to anybody. I don't have enough time with Jimmy Bob over here. I don't even know the characters' names from Gifted and Talented, to be honest. I think I gave that book 2 stars. And that's the point. Like, I should come on here and be able to tell you, like, all these experiences I had with these characters. I'm not gonna do a disappointing books of 2025. You know them already. They're on this video. This is my most disappointing list, and it's so unfortunate because it's from authors I really like, but like, all these characters were disappointing, and I'm sad. That's like the end of this is like, I'm just sad because it's like, I know these women can do better. They're all women too. I guess maybe I need to go back to Pierce Brown for a while and hang out with Daryl for a while. I think this is what that taught me. Just need to go finish Red Rising real quick and then come back. And I'm not saying anything. Like, these women have done extreme good work. It's just these books have been disappointments. And I've just heard a lot from Dark Age, and I think my next like major reading just needs to be finishing Red Rising. I think is what I've learned from this. I think if I want to know that I can just jump into a world. Like, I don't know what Pierce Brown puts in his books, but it's something. It's something pretty magical, and I can't blame people. I love his writing as much as the next person. Him and Brandon Sanderson. If Brandon Sanderson ever went like completely sci-fi, would have some competition, because I think Pierce Brown's got him in that category. But anyways, like and subscribe. I will be back with a lot of videos. I'm still reading my books from my library, as you can tell. And I feel like I'm in a slump. Like, I feel like I'm hoping reading this book, which has been okay so far, gets me out of it, and I want to read more. I think sometimes you just have to focus on your other hobbies, and it's going to suck because I'm trying to finish my 26 books out of 26 next month. And I think a lot of that's going to be DNFs, unfortunately. And I think my major goal, even though I said that other goal, I think is just going to be to finish Red Rising and then be ready for Red God next year, because I'm just not in the reading mood, to be honest. But anyway, you guys have a lovely one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.